gin and giant tequila.
Yeah, I saw that and was curious as well.
Welcome to a very long-awaited episode 45 of the Jackass Express podcast. Sounds very professional, but really we're just kind of here trying to figure out where Tip is.
Yeah, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing today at this point.
We're recording.
This episode may or may not be scrapped depending on how it comes out, so don't take it too seriously.
Oh, okay.
I never do.
There you go. So what's going on, guys? Just are you excited about our new president-elect?
Oh,
I think we should stay away from politics.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to test the waters. Too high.
The waters are filled with piranhas and electric eels.
Hey, guys. So apparently I suck at time zones, and I can't seem to figure out when everybody is best available. But I think this might be a good time, depending on how you guys are like this time. I know it's 1 o'clock in the morning where Chase is, so it's a little bit tricky to get him here. But like we were saying, it's a great time because his kiddo's already asleep, so he'll have the most uninterrupted time between now and the end of the cast.
Well, actually, everyone's asleep.
Oh, there you go. So you're uninterrupted by the world.
And your wife. Perfect.
There you go.
Well, I'm just hoping I'm not disturbing her.
Oh, I'm sure she'll be
I'm
fine.
pretty sure your existence disturbs her.
That says a lot about marriage, I guess.
I can be said for
Yeah,
most wives,
exactly.
I feel bad for April.
So when was I on here last? It's been a very long time.
Yes, it has.
Was I even married the last time I was on here?
I don't think so. It's been almost a year.
It's been a long time.
Here, I'm gonna look it up just for the heck of it.
Yeah, I'm genuinely curious.
Okay.
Because I'm pretty sure I wasn't married before, last time.
You know, people who will if people listen to the casts in a row, go from 44 to 45. Wait a minute. Why are they talking about as if everything happened years and years ago?
Because it did.
Because we've been cryogenically frozen for the last
Yeah, no shit.
year
We've
and a
been
half or
busy.
Everything
Adulting.
that happened with Brandon getting married, and then Sax getting married, and then Chase having 4 more kids. He's now running a miniature daycare. It's crazy.
And a basketball team.
And a basketball
you know
team.
it.
I can't even find it. I can't even go back that far. I think it's almost just been a year. I think it's just a year.
Since the last one I was on?
Yeah, because there's episode 43, which was just me and Tip, and I think the big announcement one was the last one you were on, which was September 16th, 2015.
Jesus. Whoa. Okay, hold on.
So we're here for
Wow.
our annual podcast.
The last one the last file I have was either Halloween or number 44. Which is from November 30th, 2014. No,
that's
what?
really far back.
Oh, no, wait. 5/17/15.
I should probably mention there was a bunch of attempted podcasts that we did that didn't quite make it because the audio screwed up in some way, shape, or form, which is why I'm not getting my hopes up too much for this one.
Yeah, well, you're kind of a fuck up, so we expect these things from you.
I've accepted it,
Mhm.
and it's helped me grow as a person.
Embrace it. Just embrace it.
But then you know what? You learn to embrace it. Like we were talking about after you get married. It's like you return to the understanding that no, you are not the king of the world. You are, in fact, the janitor of the world.
Just pawn in Game of Life.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But so is life, and not a bad thing. You get a kid out of the deal, so it's actually a good thing. I like it.
I don't consider that a good thing yet, so.
Oh, you will. They're a lot of work,
liars.
but there's a big trade off to it. You got a little buddy that watches like X-Men with you and Ghostbusters and stuff. It's pretty cool. There was actually this one video I saw of this guy who showed his son Star Wars for the first time,
Oh yeah.
and
And yeah, he made like a counter, right, of like how many questions he asked. It was like 348 questions.
So many questions.
and that is like the greatest feeling in the world because you're like, wow, he's really digging it. And I think at the very end, he said, "So what did you think?" And the kid goes, "That was the greatest movie ever." And the dad starts crying. I was like, it's stupid. It's hilarious. But yeah, man.
You're stupid.
Well, so, we already established.
I-
that.
Yep.
I
I
think
got
one of my
nothing.
favorite
I don't know why I have
one
to
of my
keep bringing
favorite
it up.
ones was the dad who's like the special effects expert.
Yeah, that was cool. Where the
You
kids,
guys have way too much free time on your hands.
well, when you're up late at night with the kid and you're trying, he's sleeping on your shoulder, but you really don't have anything to do. YouTube's a wonderful,
fair.
wonderful invention.
Fair enough. Because I don't have time for that shit.
What is it you said? You're home less than no. You're at work 250 days out of 365-day calendar year.
Yeah. So I'm traveling for work. Yeah, about 200 and some days a year, 250 days a year or so.
I feel like you're Barney Stinson. It's like, what do you do exactly?
Nobody knows.
Please.
No, I fix machines when people fuck them up, which is fairly often.
Huh.
So they really,
So-
yeah, people are really bad traditionally at keeping machines working.
So basically, you're just a glorified
I'm a-
mechanic.
Yep, I am a glorified auto mechanic. That is exactly what I am.
Hey man, if the
Not
world
even
needs
really glorified. I think auto mechanics get paid probably better. But
That's
Well, actually, the trade jobs
it works
are,
for now.
that's cool.
trade jobs are supposed to be better paying first year than most 4-year degrees.
Yeah, I mean we have a lot of guys that actually, I mean they have trade degrees. It's like electricians and stuff, and yeah, I mean those guys end up doing great. So it's really kind of one of those things. If I'd actually wanted to do this job, I never would have gone to college like I did.
Yeah,
But I mean,
kinda
because it's
found-
just yeah,
I kind of figured that out after the fact.
yeah, right.
Because if you think about it, like let's say for example, like a 3D printer repair technician.
Yeah,
I think these guys cap out at like at least 70 grand a year. Because
Really?
yeah, man, these guys are like it's an in demand job because no one wants to really do it, and then and I think like in terms of like the amount of time you spend on the degree versus the money you make as soon as you get it, kind of far outweighs it.
yeah.
You know.
And it's a fairly brand new thing, so there's not many people that know how to do it. So you make a ton of money off of that.
Yeah, so because of that, you can make quite a bit of money.
And that's why I can't understand. Like, don't get me wrong, the arts are so important. I think for like emotional maturity, development, those sorts of things. But at the end of the day, practicality is really what everybody comes down to. As long as there's microwaves and refrigerators, you're always going to have a job as an electrician. As long as there's, pipes.
Well, as long as someone's building a house.
There you go.
What the hell is that noise?
Chase is in mid teleport. To
That was like,
he's
that was actually a
fixing a
scooter.
3D printer as we speak.
I believe that was a scooter.
With like zero muffler.
Annoying as it is, yeah, most likely. I can still hear it off in the distance.
So we never really asked you how your wedding went, Sax. How'd everything go?
Oh man. All right.
Here comes.
Sorry, I haven't had coffee this morning. It's freaking early. No, the wedding went well. We had like 50 people. It was
Nice.
small. At a winery that a friend of ours owns. He has a brick oven for making fresh pizzas. So
Ooh.
We had a shit ton of food. Had like trays of meats and cheeses and breads, and then he made pizzas, and I think we went through 30 bottles of wine and like 24 bottles that are 20. They were like 26-ounce bottles of beer or 24-ounce bottles of beer
Ooh,
for
On the
50
wall.
people. So there's a good amount of booze for 50 people.
good God.
But yeah, no, it was awesome. I think the ceremony, my goal was to make the ceremony like 2.5 minutes long. And I think that's about how long it was. So, yeah, my goal was to have the shortest possible ceremony, and I think I win. So,
Nice.
I unfortunately could not get my dad, who officiated, to do the marriage
Aw.
today. But I mean, I figure, it was close, so I'll take it.
Well, congratulations.
But
That's freaking awesome.
yeah,
I know
overall it was nice. Had a good time, had a good party, and then I mean, shit, we danced from like 5:30 till probably really late. I mean, it was like 9:30, 10 o'clock by the time we were like, okay, we should probably go because it's
we're gonna start. I'm gonna start passing out from lack of hydration and nothing but
well
beer.
that and the fact that you're like the guy that owns it's still there, and he's kind of, it's like you kind of want to leave so he can clean. But overall, it was pretty nice.
The cleanup crews out in the hallway, they're just crying, waiting for you guys to finish.
It was my family, so
So same thing.
yeah,
They're just there
yeah.
crying.
They
like,
cleaned
"Please
it.
finish."
They cleaned it the next day. So
Very cool. Very cool.
yeah. So, but no, I went well, and then we went to Hawaii for a week. So
Of course, yes. Just so casually mentioned, glamorous, crazy vacation.
well, I didn't even have to pay for a hotel because all the hotel points I have.
Well, because of all the traveling you do, I bet you racked up a bunch of miles, so it's easy for you to
Oh,
just
yeah.
get free flights everywhere.
Exactly.
Very nice.
So I guess your job does have its perks.
Exactly. I never have to pay for a hotel or a rental car.
Damn, that's awesome.
Mm.
Yep.
Every time
So-
I need to stay at a hotel, I have to 3D print a hotel room, and I just need a technician. But no, but seriously, I mean, that's always the worst part about going anywhere is the flights. If you're not constantly flying everywhere and you don't have the points and all that stuff, it's like $700 drop in for two people easy, and
Oh yeah.
that's the worst part about going on vacation anywhere. And even with the lower airlines, you're at least looking at over $500, which is very tricky to figure out or to justify to the missus to go on a vacation.
Mhm.
And that's just
Well,
getting
that,
there.
and then you also have to ride with the cattle too.
Yeah. It's terrible. That's why I'm hoping that Elon Musk is right and saying that the self-driving cars are ready to go. They're just not road legal yet. Because I would love the idea of just getting into a self-driving car, saying Vegas, and then it just takes me to Vegas. I don't have to.
Well, I mean, technically, a Tesla's road legal.
Yeah, but don't you have to have your hands on the wheels like so much of the time?
Yeah, I mean, you're required to by Tesla. I think is a liability thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I want the one where like you basically get in the car and then the front seats turn around and you have like a little table and then you can just relax or
Yeah,
So
it's got
like a
the-
train ride.
like a train. Exactly.
Oh. Don't they also have one with like the laser thing?
With the laser.
Yeah,
Like
you
laser
go
guided?
around. You go around shocking people, right?
Oh. Yes. If there's
What?
pedestrians in your way and you're trying to get
You
by,
just electrocute
the
them.
car shocks them. I love
Well,
it.
they probably deserve it. Fucking pedestrians.
I know. But I can't wait till they do something like that because I mean, I'm so inefficient at driving. I'm so awful at driving that I will spend all the money that I possibly have just to buy one self-driving car, and that'll be my
So-
ticket everywhere. And
so
also a
all
robot that will
$12.
carry me into the building. What?
All $12.
All $12. Yes. But if I invested in gold now, I have a chance that it might go
Be
up.
worth $12.
It might be worth.
I am currently making espresso because I can't take it anymore.
That's cool. That's cool.
So when I flew to Alfred's wedding in Germany, which I think maybe most of our listeners now realize happened,
Yes.
that he got married, not that I flew there. But anyways, um,
You flew there?
that
Oh.
was a benefit. Another benefit of when you travel for work all the time. So if you get platinum status or diamond status on Delta, you can pick like 2 different things. Well, I picked 4 global upgrades. I used 2 of them when we went to Hawaii, so my wife and I flew first class there
Ah.
for our wedding for free. It's a free upgrade. Well, on the way back, it was an overnight flight, so I'm like, honestly, an overnight flight first class versus the comfort really isn't that big of a difference. So we just flew back in comfort. Well, so I still had these 2 free upgrade certificates worldwide,
Mm-hmm.
which I promptly used when I flew to Germany. So I had a lay-down bed on my flight to Germany, which was amazing.
That is the best case scenario. If I'm ever going to travel internationally, it has to be first class because I hear it's
Yeah.
miserable in coach.
Oh yeah, no, I mean I flew to Australia. Well, shit, when I went to visit Jonathan, you like in 2008 or 2009, that was in coach. So, but yeah, no, flying in first class, I actually had almost wished the flight was longer because I didn't get to sleep very well because it was so short.
No.
It was like I didn't get enough sleep.
I have such a hard time sleeping on planes, even if it's a short distance, because I feel like everyone's staring at me sleeping, and it's a very like self-conscious thing. It's like I don't want to be drooling on myself or accidentally fall out of my chair or be kicking someone unconsciously.
Yeah, no, I don't even give a shit anymore because I travel all the time. The only time I was embarrassed one time was I was in like the first seat, the first row in first class. And this was back when I worked for the Navy though, and I was wearing a black shirt, and I fall asleep. And when you fall asleep before you take off, I mean, you can't even recline the seat or anything, so you're sitting very, very upright. And so, I mean, I fell asleep with that. Your mouth opens up because you're asleep.
Mhm.
Well, I ended up drooling on myself. So you wake up and you're like, kind of smacking your lips, and you're like, you wipe off a little drool on your face, and you're like, oh fuck. And then I looked down on my black shirt, and I literally drooled on my shirt. And I'm like,
No.
you gotta be shitting me. It's like, that's gonna be embarrassing. So of course, first person off the plane, I go to the bathroom and like pat it off to try to get it off there because it had dried too. So it's like this slightly white spot, grayish spot on a black shirt. It's like, god damn it.
What was he doing in that bathroom? What's going on?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what the hell, man?
See, and that's my nightmare. That is my nightmare. I could not handle that.
Honestly,
attention.
though, most people I think are just jealous you actually fell asleep.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wow,
because like
he
when
slept so well, he had time to go take care of business.
Yeah, I mean, because when I flew to Australia for work. I mean, that's a 14.5-hour flight. And I sat down in the seat in coach and slept for 8 hours. And then woke up, went to the bathroom, and like got some food because they fed us. And then I went back to sleep. And when we landed in Brisbane, the people sitting next to me were like, what drugs did you take to sleep that well? And I was like, none. I'm just that fucking tired. It's like...
That's awesome. What's the most popular thing you've seen people doing on those really long flights? Are they just watching movies, or are they just viciously trying to go to sleep?
A little bit of both. And then so the people that can't sleep usually try drinking themselves to sleep,
That would be
which doesn't
solution.
doesn't tend to work very well.
Mm-mm.
It always ends up being then they're just shit faced and can't sleep.
It reminds me of that episode of The Simpsons where they pour all this beer into Homer's mouth while he's on the hammock, and he wakes up, Homer drunk, but how?
Yeah, no, I mean most people are honestly just kind of really annoying on planes.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean the more you fly, the more people are annoying to you. I mean the TSA is heinous, but everybody knows that. But it's all the other people that are like, it's 2016 and people are still surprised that, wait, what do you mean I can't bring this giant bottle of booze and shampoo on the flight? Like, where the fuck have you been the last, 15
can't
years.
bring my 400-ounce Johnny Walker label.
Yeah, they get pissed. That's like they can't bring it on the plane, and you're like, dude, where have you been? Like, this isn't anything new. I mean, I forget bottles of water sometimes because, you just throw one, like you get a couple bottles of water at the hotel. I throw them in my backpack because it's like, oh, I'm working for a week. I might need one.
Mm-hmm.
And then I get to the airport and they're like, do you have a bottle of water in your backpack? I'm like, I don't know, maybe. Shit. And then they always treat you like a criminal. Like you tried to bring out a bottle of water and you're like, oh, fuck off. I don't care. Like, take it. I'm done.
Were you planning to throw this water at the pilot while in flight?
Yeah, I mean, like, what? Yeah, I don't exactly know what they're afraid of. And then my favorite was I took a couple. We have these massive, like 2-pound bags of silicon desiccant.
Mm-hmm.
So which we ship our parts with sometimes. Well, they're great for gun safes because it takes out all the water, all the moisture. So I had 2 of those in my backpack one time because I was at the plant. I threw them in the backpack, meaning to take them out and put them in my suitcase. Totally forgot they were in there. So I go through security. Yeah, and there's these 2 giant white bags in my backpack, and of course TSA freaks out. They're like, what are these? And I'm just starting to laugh. I'm like, oh, I meant to put those in my suitcase. I'm like, they're silicon desiccant. And they're like, what's that? I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. Like, we're not going to have a chemistry talk here, people. It's like, it's made for taking water out of the air. And then they're just like, oh. And then like, we're going to have to, I'm like, just throw them out. I don't give a shit. They were free. And they're like, no, we have to swipe, check them for being explosives. I'm like, go right ahead.
And the TSA is standing there like, if I'd known this was my job, I never would have gone to college.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're trying to be dicks about it. And I'm just laughing the whole time because it's like, they're like trying to treat me like a suspect for, having a bomb. And I'm just like, guys, I know exactly what that is. I'm not really concerned about what you think. So I'm just sitting there chuckling. I just sit down and they're like, you have to stand right here. I'm like, no, I don't. Like, I'm going to go sit down. So, yeah, it was. Yeah.
See, those are the things that freak me out about the international flights. Because I would go out of my way, not because I'm afraid of getting in trouble, but because I want to avoid all human interaction as much as I possibly can. Outside of, like, my wife, it's really hard for me to just, like, have to deal with the whole process of someone finding something and what are you doing and why and it's like
you just have to realize that most of the time they're idiots. And so you're dealing with an idiot.
It's true.
And so it's just like dealing with Tip every day.
No.
I mean, really.
No, Tip's pretty.
It's not as fun when he's not here. I wish I could just make fun of him to his face.
Oh, we'll get him eventually.
And yes, since last time that happened, Tip and I actually met.
That's right. That's a huge reveal that no one's heard of yet. Tip and Sax actually exist in the same universe. It's outstanding.
Yes, though right before we did, there was an ambulance that pulled up, so we kind of thought some shit was going to go down. But I mean, no joke. I pull up and there's an ambulance at the restaurant, and we're like, "Oh shit!" They're already prepping for this.
They're ready. There's a guy with a time device in his hand. Like, we have to get one of them out of this dimension as fast as possible.
Yeah.
I think you guys are responsible for the Cubs winning.
It's
true.
Possible.
The same year Tip and I meet, the Cubs win, Trump wins.
There's a fissure throughout the world.
There's an Italian guy I work with, and so at the very beginning of baseball season, he's like, "I'll bet you a beer the Cubs will win it." And I was like, "You're on, man." And I was like, "But I mean, they'd been playing a little bit, so I think they were kind of undefeated at the beginning, or they were doing really well."
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, fair enough. They actually seem to be pretty good this year. I was like, "But yeah, sure, you're on." And then after he was like, "Okay, agreed," we shook on it. Then I'm like, "You do realize they haven't won it since like 1908, right?" And he was like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "But if they win," and I told him up front, I'm like, if they win, more than happy to pay that bet out, because I'm like, that's pretty cool because they haven't won it for so long. So then, election night, he texts me, or the day before the election, he's like, "Another beer." He's like, "I'll put a beer on Trump," and I'm like, "Fuck, all right, fine, I'll go back to being even." Yeah. So now I owe my friend 2 beers. I'm like, God damn it! It's like he can't even vote, and he's calling this shit.
Oh man, see, that's what happens when you hang out with Tip. is that his luck spreads on to the person that he's with or the people that he's with, and then suddenly his whole weird sphere of luck happens to everyone that goes henceforth.
I think it's actually because, in Italy, they saw Berlusconi. They had a president that was very similar, a media magnate. I mean, they've seen this, they've been down this road. And so I think he totally saw what was coming. And he actually apparently said the guy wasn't that bad. So it's kind of like, yeah, we'll see what happens with this one.
As long as they keep up with the self-driving cars, I'll be happy.
That's all you care about.
Just legalize a self-driving car. That's all I care about. Oh man, yeah, I got to plan.
I have to say, my wife comes from Ecuador to here, and then has this election go down. Though as an immigrant, it puts a different spin on things.
Yeah, it's like it's the opposite of the reason why people came here.
Pretty much.
But did you see that?
Well, it also the problem though is I know there is more reasons for why people voted for him than what the media tries to portray it. I mean, it's not like everyone that voted for Trump is a racist. I totally understand that.
Yep.
However, when the media portrays it that way, or at least I hope that's not the reason everyone voted for Trump. But anyways,
you have to believe
when the media yeah. So, but when the media always portrays it that way, well, my wife sees the media and is like, holy shit, your country's filled with racists. And I'm like, no. I was like, there's multiple reasons why people voted not for Hillary. And I'm like, and there's multiple reasons people didn't vote for Trump. I'm like, shit, only like, what was it? Like 39% of people voted or something? 49%?
Yep. And then
I'm like, half our country is so disgusted with it, they didn't even vote.
Yep.
Yep. And that's what's crazy about it. And you said it perfectly. They didn't vote for Trump. They voted not for Hillary. And it's the wrong way to try to solve the problem.
Yeah. Well, the biggest problem, though, is how our primaries work. And that's one of the things I had to explain to my wife as well, is I'm like, look, you have, not even half of the Republican Party voted for Trump in the primaries. I'm like, you're talking, he won like 20% of the votes or say something, like that of one party. And during primaries, only like 20% of people in the party vote. So I'm like, he won 20% of 20% of one party. That's half the country. I'm like, it's like our system's just more fucked up than anything. It's like, so that 3% of the population practically elects the two people running for president. You're like, that's what's wrong with this country.
Well, it's because the media has done such a great job of making everyone hate politics with every single fiber of their being. I can't understand why people are so disinterested in it, and they just don't want to be involved. And that's where the problem comes from is, okay, well, if I do vote, whatever,
I actually think that's I actually think that was the end game of a lot of the politics this year actually was to reduce the turnout. Definitely on the Republican side. The Democrats, I think, try to get turnout increased on their side, but I think that in the end they try to get it depressed on the other side too. So, I mean, you have two sides trying to suppress voter turnout, which of course then neither side really wins on that case because it's like, okay, then both sides, there's enough people on both sides. They're just like, fuck this, we're done.
Yep.
So, again, I don't think we have a lot of voter fraud, but I do think we have voter suppression, but it's not in the traditional sense of, having somebody standing there beating people trying to get to the polls. It's just all you ever hear about is stupid shit on the media. So then everybody's like, oh, fuck it, I'm not going.
Yeah, and that's the other weird side of it. Like psychologically, and I bet because I know, Chase, you studied a lot in like philosophy and psychology and stuff like that. I feel like almost the media's portrayal of the election, and I mean, yeah, I don't necessarily agree with the fact that the guy won. I would prefer not that have happened. But I feel like the demonizing of him was just so intense that people are now scared of something that they created. Like they're scared of this like huge elaborate attempt to try to get him to not be president. But now that he is, president-elect, everyone's like, oh my God, the world really is cataclysmically coming to an end. It's like, no, he's just going to be a crappy president. He's probably going to say a lot of really stupid things, and the world will
Well,
continue to spin on. You know?
what what I think is funny is that you've had several years of people increasing executive power and being like, well, it's fine, and then you finally get a president that scares people, and they're like, oh, sweet mother of God, what have we done? And you're like, well, this is what people have been worried about. It's like when you have too much power in one branch. It's like,
Yeah.
so apparently everyone's fine with it when they agree with the person, but as soon as it's not, they don't agree, they freak out, and you're like, well, welcome to the rest of the U.S.
So, to even heighten this discussion, Chase, what is this game Flame and Flood that you're?
Okay.
Yeah,
That's how much I
looks
love
amazing.
this political talk. I'm sorry.
That was a nice segue.
That's actually a really nice segue. Yeah,
Thank you.
caps off to you.
Well, I mean, if everything does go to hell, then this game's a pretty fair assessment of what you might need to do. But
Especially with climate change, the flood part.
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Learn to build a boat.
So, I guess the premise of the game, basically like I guess due to climate change or whatever, there's been like a mass catastrophe and mass flooding everywhere, and you are basically trying to navigate yourself across the down the river, and to try and find, I guess, more survivors or whatever. And as you're going down, you need to be able to survive out in the wilderness on your own to try and obviously make the goal. So that's the basic premise of the game. I think what really sells it though is it's been very well produced. The soundtrack is very very well thought out. I think they hired this guy Chuck Reagan. If any of you guys follow music, he used to be in Hot Water Music, and then he kind of went solo to do like a lot of folk music kind of thing, and it kind of ties everything together pretty nicely.
Is it similar to like it's how to put it, like a less first-person shooter version of the newest Fallout where you can build stuff?
Yeah, more or less. I mean, I remember in Fallout, yeah, you can find random shit and craft it. Well, it's the same thing here. You find whatever raw materials you can out in the wilderness, or whatever you can scavenge, and then you turn that into usable stuff to help your survival.
Now, do you get skills and things too?
No, you don't. I think these are all innate skills that you already have. It's just that once you've collected the necessary material, then it's like, oh, by the way, now you've discovered how to make fire or whatever.
Oh, and
Something like that.
apparently it was a crowdfunded game.
Yep.
And it was developed by a team who used to work on BioShock, Halo 2, and Rock Band, and they raised $251,647 of a $150,000 goal.
Yeah. It was all completely crowdfunded, which is like really amazing. So as far as like an indie game goes,
That's incredible.
it's like it's
A very successful indie game.
it's a very successful indie game.
That is freaking cool.
Interesting.
Do you think the whole indie game development structure with the crowdfunding will eventually transition over to like online shows and online movies?
Like an online E3? Oh, no, I get what you mean. Sorry, I thought you meant like gaming shows.
Yeah, kind of like where, Rooster Teeth did this thing where they raised so much money to make a movie called Laser Team, and they wanted to raise $1 million so they could, cover all their costs. Well, they ended up raising like over $2 million.
So you're meaning like a crowd-funded Netflix idea where you have a private producer.
Yeah, where like this person says, I want to make a movie about Chase in a boat sailing through the rivers, the life of Chase, right?
It's been done. It's called Tom
It's
Sawyer.
been done.
I know Life of Pi and all that stuff, right? But then
Or
someone says,
Huck Finn,
hey,
sorry.
I want to see this producer's vision of, I don't know, whatever. And then they raise the money, and then now more movies come out on the internet as opposed to like big Hollywood blockbuster things. Do you think we're heading that way, or?
Yeah, for sure, because I know quite a few friends and notable, I guess, artists or whatever who have gone through like Kickstarter and stuff like that to pretty much crowdfund their
projects.
Their projects, yeah, and they've been made into like feature films and been like submitted into the actual, the what is it, that award ceremony for the indies.
Academy Awards.
No, not the Academy Awards.
McCain's Festival?
No, hosted by John McCain.
the Independent Film Festival, or not?
Sundance.
I know.
Is it Sundance?
I already said Sundance.
Oh, you did? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, Sundance.
Bastards.
Sundance.
Okay.
I was trying to take credit for your
The thing is,
please.
I think it'll always get. I think it would only work once though. Like if you did it like for a specific group of people, if they successfully make a movie using crowdsourcing, I mean, look at it from the standpoint of like the Blair Witch Project. Wasn't that one done almost with crowdsourcing?
Yeah,
that's a very good question.
And then they were bought out eventually. It's like it's wildly popular at first. They make millions of dollars, but then a big name comes in and scoops it up because it's like, why would they miss out on the money? So I'm wondering if even though there's an ever expanding, yeah, exactly. So as long as there's an ever expanding pool of talent, yes, there will always be these upstarts, which is good. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like eventually they would be, as you get, as upstarts are good, they'll get picked up by a larger, bought out, I guess. Maybe.
The possibility is definitely there. I mean, I guess the same concept can be applied to like musicians, where they all start off on their own, and then when they make it big, they're bought out by record companies.
Exactly. That's all I'm getting at.
For the Blair Witch Project, it says a list, and this is according to the flawless and never wrong Wikipedia, of course.
Ooh.
A list of production budget figures have circulated over the years, appearing as low as $20,000 in an interview with Entertainment Weekly. But then once principal photography first wrapped, they said it's approximately $20,000 to $25,000 was spent on the movie. And other figures, which I highly doubt was the case, a final budget ranging from $500,000 to $750,000, which I do not think they spent close to $1 million making the Blair Witch Project, but I don't know.
Especially because it was pretty shitty. Yeah.
And
if they spent that much money, it was on drugs. Because let's face it, they didn't spend that much on the quality.
Well, I mean, and that could be kind of the corruption of the crowdfunding idea for movies. Is that suddenly your movie needs more funds to make it better, and then it's just about people wanting to make more money so that they can say that it went into the movie, but really they just kept the money.
So what you just discussed is the whole plot of The Producers.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, pretty much.
I need to go watch this movie then.
Dude, it's a classic.
Yeah.
Even the new one is actually quite good with Nathan Lane and Ferris Bueller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like even this podcast costs like close to $1 million a year to produce. So, if people want to keep this going, please submit a check for $1 million.
We're not doing a fund drive like the NPR.
No. Because you know what I noticed? The second you start accepting money, you have to start being careful with what you say, and I don't like that as much.
Or you actually have to produce a decent quality show.
That's true.
Yep.
Too. I don't know how.
Yep. Not worth it, guys. Like. I wouldn't know.
But I kind of hope that, I think that television and movies eventually, well, not movies for a while, because that's too big budget, but television shows, I think more shows are going to start appearing as online exclusives, kind of like the Netflix route. And then we're going to see the slow dissolving effect of the major corporations like NBC and ABC. And maybe not ABC as soon because they're pretty powerful right now, but like the AMCs and all that stuff, I think eventually those are going to all become online exclusives because they're going to get better deals and they're not being censored as much by the FCC. So I hope we start seeing the emerging of new producers online. And we don't see.
I don't know.
having to go to Hollywood to get approved by a producer. You know what I mean? They just make it. They can just make it whatever they want. I
I
know.
don't know. I think it'll be difficult to get rid of the big names because there are certain, what would you say, like inertias that you deal with culturally in certain areas. And yeah,
Mm.
I mean, even I think sometimes like Netflix, you seem to have, they'll steal shows from other places, but not, it's like they'll take a show that got canceled,
Mm-hmm.
but they don't always, I mean, and they do their own stuff too, but it just always seems like there's some sort of inertia to still stick with what there is, not new things.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
people are.
it's just due to risk. It's a risk avoidance. I understand, but
Yeah, but I mean, I could be wrong. This is just my theory on the matter. I just feel like,
I hope you're wrong, or I hope I'm wrong. Sorry, is what I mean.
well, yeah, the brand names NBC, ABC. I think they'll take kind of like the HBO route, where eventually they'll just kind of move on to like the online like compromise where, okay, yes, we're still a major network, but now we're also a streaming network, which is, most of them have done that by now.
Isn't
Yeah,
that pretty
but
much like the
that's Hulu.
right? Isn't
Yeah,
that pretty much the outcome of a lot of major newspapers now? I mean, before newspaper was all print, but with
True.
with the internet, they've
excellent
had to
example.
change formats to include the online presence, and now some newspapers are now strictly online.
That
Even the
is a
Washington Post and the New York Times have a pretty big online presence more than they do otherwise.
Yeah, that is an excellent comparison. That's pretty much what I feel is slowly happening to the entertainment industry.
I wouldn't mind if NBC stopped sucking at our Olympics. I can tell you that.
Well, because
Jesus
it's just
Christ.
so bad, especially because they always have like this narrative that they want to, impress upon people, like
Yeah.
this, this young and upcoming star who's pulled himself, up by the bootstraps and nonsense. And it's like, well, we don't give a shit about that. All we
Yeah.
care about is we want to see,
I
Americans
want to see
beating
it.
other
Yeah.
countries.
Like, or that, or you're like, I want to watch goddamn curling. Show me curling instead of being like, here's all about this figure skater, and you're like, I don't care about figure skating. Like, show me curling. Come on, curling's awesome.
And
You
then
know it is.
and the online platform really lends itself to that customization where you only see what you
Correct.
want to see. You don't get what the producer feels like the audience wants to watch. And I think that's so cool. I mean, like, it's funny, they put you through school and through college with, rightfully so, the current structure of, you got to build your resume, you have to structure your stories and your concepts a certain way to even get a possibility of a glance by a major network producer. And
Sorry,
then,
it almost sounded like you
Something
were
that
trying
we
to
don't
say
do.
you need to have a coherent thought. Ooh, I know that's hard for this
no,
group, trust me.
but I mean, like, in other words, you got to know how to play the game in Hollywood in order to make it anywhere in Hollywood. You got to, the old school, you got to be a waiter in California until movie producer walks in, and then you give him, buy his meal and give him your script as an exchange or whatever. But now you got these people within our age demographic, even a little bit lower, that they just make a Patreon or a GoFundMe, and they've created themselves a personalized income.
I think it's because we see how much bullshit that really is. How bullshit that is. I honestly think our generation is irreverent towards existing structures, and I'm saying that's as a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
I almost think as our generation, even as maligned as the millennials are and annoying they tend to be,
Mm-hmm.
which technically we're on the beginning end of that, or the very edge of it. I feel like we really have a disregard for certain rules and like cultural existing cultural norms,
Mm-hmm.
which I think as we take charge and move up, because politics, obviously we're getting fucked over by baby boomers still.
Mhm.
And that's just what it is. It's like the people that vote and the people that are running in office are 40 years old, or older than 40, so they're all the remaining baby boomers, and I guess what would that be, Xers and Ys now?
Mm-hmm.
But even the X and Ys don't really have any power because they don't have seniority. So it's like we're getting screwed over by the same generation that's been screwing us over this whole time. And but at the same time, it's like, all right, so we find our little ways where we can to kind of screw them over, which is the existing social norms. We're like, no, fuck that. Yeah, just because you've done it that way doesn't mean it's right. Let's do it this way. And so we're forcing change in our own way.
If nothing else, we're slowly encouraging the newer generations to figure out ways to put the older generation into those pods from the Matrix and to keep them just satisfied in their own little world while they turn the rest of society into batteries.
I'm okay with this, yes.
Yeah, I'll put me in the pod with the steak. I'll do that.
Either that or we need to go back to the Charlton Heston, it's the Soylent Green thing.
It's made of people.
It's so terrible.
I feel like at some point, our podcast, we should all sit down, watch the same movie at the same time, and just Mystery Science Theater the shit out of it.
That would be a cool idea.
Yeah.
That could be a segment.
And if we don't charge for it, I guess we won't really get in any trouble. It'll just be fun to do.
Exactly.
Although, or another way, I guess, if we all happen to be in the same place at the same time, just have one computer, one mic, and
we need to work on that. Yeah, absolutely. We should do that. Well, we were already talking about wanting to get together and do like a cookout somewhere, because it would be the perfect atmosphere for like everyone adult to get together, eat and drink, and for the kids to run around and do their own thing. So even for Jeff and yourself and me and Sax eventually, when he has 8 kids, it'll be great for them to run around and get in trouble, and it won't be that big a deal.
So yeah, perhaps. But cookout, yes. I don't want kids. They terrify me.
They do most people.
Speaking to Jeff about that though, Jeff was like, I still hate everyone else's little shit. He's like, but I like mine.
Yeah. And then you know what? You learn to gain like not small. You learn to gain like get out of jail free cards for adjacent people that you know's kids. Like, I'm okay with Jeff's kid. I'm okay with Chase's kid. I'm okay with people's, like, if I trust the person, then the kid, I'm like, okay, he's all right. He's just a kid. But people that I don't know,
grandfather
did. Yeah. But the people that I don't know, it's like, no, I don't have time for screaming kid running around Toys R Us. But if my kid goes screaming around Toys R Us, I'm a failure, but it's my kid, so I don't care.
You already are a failure. We know that.
We've established this at the beginning. When you accept that as your baseline, the sky is the limit.
True. When you're already at the bottom, you can only go up.
That's. I used to think that, but I seem to.
I had a week like that one time where one of the machines I was working on, first thing in the morning, we start up at 11 o'clock at night, and it got on fire.
Oh.
It's like, well, we can only go up from here.
See, this
it had nothing to do with me. One of their guys had been in one of the other parts of the machine over the weekend, and they'd been drilling stuff, and little metal filings had fallen into some electrical components.
Oh.
Yeah, metal filings and electrical components usually don't match very well. So, yeah, thanks a lot.
That is, you see, that's the reason why we need Tip here too, so you two can compare notes. Because I remember him telling me the story how he showed up to work one time. And they have that.
There was literally a train wreck.
There's a train wreck, and they're like, "Okay, Tip, good luck." And he's like, "God, okay."
Yep.
Well, guys, we've been going for almost an hour here. Did you want to start wrapping up, or do you want to keep going?
We can keep going a little bit.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
I was gonna say something else I would like to hear from us is especially if we could get Johnny on here, would be like a food segment where we could all talk about things, and of course I want to see what the listeners think. You know, that one, they could have us discuss specific questions that they want, like we could answer as a group, like, you know, what's your favorite recipe or something like that. We could all try to answer different questions.
I like that. That's cool.
I think it would be interesting to hear from them because obviously we're all very opinionated.
Just a little bit.
Just a little.
Tiny bit.
Like anyone that orders a steak above medium is wrong. But you know, it's things like that. But because like, you know, that yesterday or 2 days ago, I made the tri-tip with a mushroom risotto from scratch.
Mm-hmm.
Last night I made a beef stroganoff from scratch. So
Nice.
I'm always up for we're sharing recipes, but also for answering questions on food and I'll honestly, if somebody has a good thing, I'm also up for learning. So
There you go. And I absolutely was trying to get Johnny on today, but he overslept. We're having a family reunion, and all of our mom's side of the family is in town. And last night we were out at some breakfast and brunch place that they kept open for us, and we were just like having beers and catching up with one another. And Johnny overslept, and when you have a kid, you don't oversleep. So I was awake, but
yeah, you don't have a choice.
he was supposed to be here, but that gives us something to talk about for next time, though. I do have a funny story about the meat story, though. We had gone to Great American Steakhouse here a couple days ago, and Johnny was there, and my wife came along, and we were just eating as normal, and I ordered a green chili steak burger, and I said medium well, and I'm like, okay. And then later I tell April, I said, my brother, he can't stand people who get anything well done. And this look of dread came over his face, and and I'm like, what's the matter? And he goes, because he knows that my wife likes burgers, so
Yeah.
he goes, oh no, I mean real steak, like steak, like, but if you're having a sandwich, I can understand why people want that well done. And then she's like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then the next day he tells me, Pat, I have to tell you something. I'm like, what? He goes, I can't stand people who get meat well done. I don't care what it's on. I don't care if it's a burger or anything. I didn't want to get in trouble. And I was like, okay, fair enough, man.
I heard a very good explanation for the reason you should order a steak medium rare and versus a burger, like why you should never order a burger medium rare.
Because
the bacteria.
The bacteria is crushed into the burger.
Exactly, because it's the bacteria on a steak's only on the outside. It's not like you can get bacteria inside the steak from from people handling it. So the only bacteria on a steak's the outside. Well, you grind it up, it's literally mixed throughout. So like a meat. I after reading that, it made makes perfect sense. So now I order my burgers like medium, but steak is medium rare to like bloody. I don't, it can just have grill marks and still be quivering and mooing. I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm. But then with chicken, it's a totally different story, right? Like you have to make sure that thing's cooked all the way through.
Yeah, chicken and pork, though they lowered the temperature for pork to 145, I think now, because they assume that pork doesn't have worms anymore. Or maybe they just assume you can get rid of the worms when you get them.
And the worms, instead of them living inside your brain.
Yeah. So, but pork, I think they lowered the temperature a little bit because pork, used to have to cook the shit out of it. So it was just like, and I'm eating a hockey puck. But yeah, I think I'm not very good at cooking pork.
My dad, that's all he ever used to do was pork, and you'd make it really super, like, he'd cook it really a lot, and it would come out crispy almost in a way. And so I grew up getting used to that, and so did Johnny. So it's like now we like pork that tastes like that. We can eat pork that tastes like that, but he always tells me this is not how you make it. You're supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, I have a miso marinated pork tenderloin that I do with a soy ginger glaze.
Oh god,
this guy.
And that one's pretty good. And that's like the only way I'll cook pork now, because if I try to cook a pork chop, every time I cook it, it's dry. Like any other, unless it's like I throw them in a crock pot and cook them with beer, but that's just for pulled pork.
Man.
But otherwise, it's like, I can't cook pork like on a stovetop. I can't do it. I suck at it.
You know what? I'm gonna for future shows, my mission will be to actually make some of the stuff we discuss. So that will be our incentive to talk about.
We should
food.
do a JAE cookbook. We should check.
Absolutely.
We should see if that's worthwhile.
Can you make it?
I know. I tried. Yeah, and Jonathan, you suck at doing cookbooks. your bullshit answer of a half pour for 2 seconds. What the fuck does that mean? I'm still pissed at you to this day about that half-assed answer. And my response to you is do your fucking bullshit half pour into a container. Measure it for me and tell me how much it is. You dick.
Because that's
a half pour for 2 seconds, and I'm like, what does that even mean? Like,
Go to Google.
it depends on how full the
How
bottle
many
is.
milliliters
And
and a
then
half pour?
Yeah.
Siri.
So to this day, your freaking bullshit adobo recipe, I just do like a tablespoon, and I'm like, tablespoon. Yeah, that tastes about right. But all you had to say was add 1 tablespoon of vinegar instead of saying half pour for 2 seconds.
I'm gonna ask Siri. I'm gonna ask Siri how many milliliters in a half pour. How many milliliters?
Yeah, this
in a
is
half
why
pour?
when I tried to do a cookbook.
No, but well, it's because I definitely eyeball everything.
Oh, I'll be.
Well,
damned.
as do I, but I can at least give a rough estimate of like, oh, it's a 1/4 cup. It might be a little more, it might be a little less, but estimate. Dick.
How many milliliters in a half pour?
473.18 milliliters.
Holy crap!
Siri's just like, no.
It gave me a measurement. It said 0.5 quarts, which is 473.
A pint. That's a pint.
Hey man,
A half pour
maybe
is
that's
not a
maybe
pint.
that's the secret.
Or
I don't know. Well, guys, I hate to go, but
a quart or a pint of vinegar would be a lot.
that's hilarious. But we definitely got to get in that discussion when we have John on, because I got to get going. We got to have the second event of the family reunion tonight. But this was really cool. I'm glad we were able to get back on here and do this. Guys, make sure if you're listening to go to our blog spot at jackassexpress.blogspot.com. That's where you can hear the rest of the ramblings that we've done in the past, over a year ago. And also go to our
send your questions.
Send us questions. If you go to our Facebook page and leave a comment there, ask us questions. Absolutely, please do. And on our blog spot, we actually have a little submission thing where you can ask us a question, and we'll get those and we'll talk about them. So please do that. Facebook.com.
And maybe another.
Express. Yeah. And your recipes. Let us hear your recipes so we can tell you how wrong they are, apparently. And Sax can fix them.
Maybe right.
Don't write instructions in half-pour units of measurement. But thank you guys for joining.
Give me actually like milliliters, damn it.
There you go. Thank you guys for joining, and we will see you hopefully sooner than later. Farewell.
Bye.
Auf Wiedersehen.
The Jackass Express!